My shared art studio in southeast London had a large window facing a block of boarded-up storefronts and crumbling pre-war brick warehouses. No trees anywhere, even on the occasional vacant lots. Brown grime covered every surface, ancient coal dust, or an eternity of exhaust fumes. And even the people milling about outside seemed to have absorbed it into their drab clothing and worn-out shoes. I often paused on the windowsill in the afternoon to absorb some of the heat from the old radiator beneath it. I was working on a new idea, rudimentary remakes of famous scenes in films. So far I had made only one, the scene in Apocalypse Now, where the helicopter lands on the beach and blows everyone's stuff away. I reconstructed the beach on a large rectangular table using sand and cocktail umbrellas, then simulated the flight of a helicopter by coming down onto the beach with a video camera and a hairdryer blowing from behind it. With the addition of an audio track of a helicopter in flight, the effect was magnificently absurd, especially when all the umbrellas blew away one by one. I hadn't been able to think of any other scenes from movies that I wanted to make. We had an open studio show coming up in early December, only 1 month away. All of us had committed to exhibiting at least one installation. My studio mates, all friends from Chelsea College, had been hard at work on their pieces while I'd been busy showing my father and his new girlfriend, Ella, around London. Then my flat had been robbed and I'd been held up at the American Embassy for days, where I'd gone to replace my stolen passport. On my father and Ella's last day in London, my father and I went to see the duBois exhibit at the British Museum while Ella had a massage at the hotel. We stood before the 100th painting of ballerinas, and I pictured lining them all up on the beach and gunning them down. I knew I could get the soundtrack of a machine gun somewhere, and music box figurines of ballerinas were plentiful. My idea was evolving. Perhaps I wouldn't limit my imagination to scenes from movies. Anything was fair game. My father grunted at the painting and wandered off. I trailed behind him. He passed a tall sculpture of a ballerina, and by comparison, he looked shrunken, his shoulders caving forward, next to her proud, lithe stance on the pedestal. He was getting old. I wanted to reach out and hug him from behind through his khaki raincoat, but I did nothing. The day before, we'd been at Harrods, where my father bought a leather backpack costing 400 pounds for Ella. Afterwards, I tried on a pair of earrings costing 100 pounds while they watched uncomfortably. My father seemed torn between pulling out his credit card and letting me buy them, especially with Ella watching. The fact that Ella and I had attended high school together only added to the ambiguity of who was my father's daughter now. And it occurred to me that any friendship that might form between us would be contrived for my father's sake. In high school, I had never known Ella's name. I remember standing outside the heavy glass door by the school's parking lot with the smokers, cracking jokes between drags and getting laughs from the crowd gathered there, Ella among them. She roared with barroom zeal at everything I said, inserting a cigarette between her chapped lips with the same swift skill a carpenter inserts a nail into wood before hammering. Her hands were large and calloused. She wore the same clothes every day, a moth-eaten army fatigue jacket with the words, "Eat the rich," embroidered on the back in fiery sweeps of red and blue. Her deep voice and towering height deemed her an important member of the crowd, though I rarely heard her speak. She lurked in the hallways or strode angrily across the school's lawn as if chased by tiny devils with blazing pitchforks. Her suede lace-up moccasins reached knees exposed through holes in her jeans, and down her back, just brushing those 3 words on her jacket, was a braided rat tail. The high school clique, along the fringes of which she hovered, smoked and laughed, and a group in which she and I had some mutual friends was known as the Rats. I had vivid memories of Ella sitting on the school's lawn among their mescaline-popping, Led Zeppelin-worshipping numbers. Standing at the jewelry counter, I admired the gold earrings in the mirror. The tension felt stifling. Ella ruffled the tissue paper in her enormous Harrods shopping bag. She wore nude stockings, tasseled loafers, and pearls. My father wheezed through cigar smoke, wondering out loud where we should have lunch. I paid. I signed the receipt while everyone squirmed. My Fulbright had just ended and I couldn't afford the earrings, but I wanted to show my father that I could take care of myself, even as I was beginning to wonder if this were true. Later, when Ella was seated at the hotel bar, my father led me into the lobby and gave me an envelope containing 400 pounds. "Happy birthday," he said. "Don't spend it all in one place." It was an apology. I felt grateful, even if the money was the booby prize. I spent every penny on black cabs to and from gallery private views, to and from which I usually took the tube. Cabs were a luxury I rarely allowed myself. The money lasted just 2 weeks, until my birthday had passed. I knew I was being frivolous with my father's money, frivolous the way he was, and this somehow calmed me. Thank you.